Yes, guys, after every 5 years, Kenyans in their numbers always troop to the polls in the hope of electing a new government that will help address some of the challenges that the previous regime has failed to address. Last year, August, Kenyans spoke overwhelmingly, and as per Chebukati and the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, William Ruto was declared the president. However, in just 8 months, it seems the president is facing one of the challenges that he himself did not anticipate when he was campaigning. Now, in this video, we are going to look at some of the serious challenges that Kenya Kwanza regime is facing just 8 months into its existence. Welcome. I am your host, Victor Onyango. Before we begin, please take time to subscribe and like the video and comment by telling us where you're watching us from. Now, first, William Ruto has received serious beating from the opposition camp, and Azimio since February has been piling pressure on the Kenya Kwanza government to ensure that the issues it is raising are addressed. This led to the president calling for a bipartisan talk where parliament was going to get a chance to discuss some of the contentious issues that were brought forward by the opposition camp. These talks have been getting breaks and getting another leeway, then getting new breaks, and it seems like there is no future for this bipartisan talk. And if you can remember, just this week, Otiende Amolo, who is the co-chair from the Azimio side, stated on Twitter that the talks have been suspended indefinitely. This only means that now there is no avenue where the government and opposition will engage openly. If you know Raila and his kind of politics, he is someone who keeps pressure day in, day out. And if you remember in the burial of Mama Mukami Kimathi, William Ruto said that he knows how Raila plays. And Raila also said that he knows how Ruto plays. And therefore, if we look at the current stalemate that exists, that has led to the stalling of the bipartisan talks, it only says that the next course of action is that Azimio will call for demonstrations. And we know the kind of economic ramifications that the demonstrations were causing to this country. William Ruto has a headache in that case. How will he handle these demonstrations? Because going by the nature and going by how the cost of living is headed, many Kenyans will be willing to join and accompany those who are protesting against the government. Right now, we have a lot of people complaining from all different businesses that economy is not doing good. And if they find a space to vent that can be provided by the opposition, automatically it will be disaster. And therefore, in this case, William Ruto must tread carefully and find the best way to handle Raila Odinga. And I guess it could have been a plan by Raila Odinga to exit these talks, because the way William Ruto has been toying with them, it has been like a cat and mouse game, where William Ruto brings a complication, and then he knows that the opposition will protest. Then they go back and talk and discuss, and the time goes. And this is how he has been managing it. But if Raila Odinga gets out of this Azimio talks or these bipartisan talks, automatically it will now present a new challenge to the government and to President William Ruto, so that he might not have a better strategy to handle him. This is one of the serious challenges that he is faced with. Another challenge is the question around the Finance Bill 2023. This Finance Bill not only does it create a challenge for him and Kenyans, but just within its party ranks, cracks have formed, and we are aware that many members of parliament from central Kenya have voiced their disagreements differently. In fact, Gathoni wa Mushomba has been like a face of rebellion in Mount Kenya, looking at how she meets her constituents in Githunguri and how she talks about it and allows Kenyans to talk about their challenges and how they want her to vote. This is a challenge that has presented itself, and William Ruto must find a strategy to address this in-party fighting that has created a scenario in which some people feel like they are being gagged. We must know how he will handle this so that it does not create for him a challenge within its party. We also know that Gatanga Member of Parliament, Edward Muriu, also voiced his opposition against this finance bill. And this means that he is having challenges from the central region on how to handle this case, not only from the members of parliament, but also citizens across all sectors of life are saying that this life that we have right now, and looking at the finance bill that you are giving us, it will not be tenable. And that is why you'll find that those who are opposing silently. The other day he was in Western. Seth Panyako resigned from the party. And on his side, he said that he was called by the president and told to resign because he does not toe with the party position, which you give it to Ruto because those are some of the rules of the party. But now, when you want to pass draconian rules and laws that are going to press Kenyans more, who would you listen to more? And therefore, this is a serious challenge that William Ruto must find a way to address if he is to survive throughout until 2027. And we must note that for the first time, a government that is just 8 months old in office has faced widespread condemnation from Kenyans. This is something that is new to us. And in fact, we knew that given his prowess in communication and how he campaigned, it would be easier for him to govern. But it turns out that Kenyans have become more wise. They now understand the politicians better, and they understand him and the issues and the promises that he gave. They are ready to gauge and judge him immediately on those that he has fulfilled and those that he has not fulfilled. And therefore, if William Ruto does not tread carefully with this finance bill, it might end up to be his poisoned chalice. The third threat that is facing the Kenya Kwanza regime is the threat of nationwide strike from civil servants and workers across all different sectors. We know that in the past weeks, there has been protest from different corners by trade union bodies calling for the elimination of the 3% housing levy that has been proposed in the finance bill. This has led to the union bodies to come together and speak with one voice. You know, when William Ruto got into power, the first thing he did was to take trade union and put it in his pocket. The problem is he took a trolley. And looking at how things are right now, most trade union groups that are supposed to be under Kotu are opposed to the line that Atwoli has taken because Atwoli is supporting the 3% tax on the housing levy. But if you look at those other unions, they are totally opposed to this proposal. And therefore, if William Ruto thought that by taking Francis Atwoli, he would have addressed all the challenges that were going to face him when it comes to strikes by trade unions, then this remains a challenge for him. Remember, trade unions have been a pain in most governments. You realize that doctors strike, after doctors strike, it is teachers, after teachers, it is nurses, after nurses, it is those working in Kenya Airways, here and there. And therefore, it is a new challenge that if William Ruto does not address, it may lead to the collapse of his first term. The fourth and the last issue is the challenge that is presented by jobless youths, which has led to the springing up of criminal gangs like Mungiki. We know that Mungiki is a very serious issue. When there are protests like in Nyanza, in Kisumu, in Kondele, people would be stereotyped and called names. But this time round, Mungiki came to the DCI headquarters. They sang their songs. Rigathi Gachagua heard it. William Ruto heard it. Everybody in the country heard them. How will he address that challenge? How will William Ruto address the challenge of Mungiki? And if you look at it, he has decided to detach himself and let Gachagua handle that area because he knows that Gachagua is the one that can easily talk to them in their language so that they can understand. But one question I ask, you see, when these guys are with Maina Njenga, they are called Mungiki. But those boys in their hundreds that were carried and dropped at Northlands, given instructions on what to do, are they not Mungiki? And if they're Mungiki, could it be that these politicians are paying them to do what they're doing? And then how will they end them? This is a serious challenge. If it was in an opposition background, the government would go with full force. Remember that opposition protesters were arrested and arraigned in courts. Those who are alleged to have committed different atrocities were arrested and arraigned in courts. But up to now, there is not a single person who has been arrested and taken to court because he was among those in Northlands raiding the former president's land. Therefore, it remains a very serious issue for William Ruto to handle and address it effectively because if they do not address that challenge, it will automatically be a problem to them. Either whether they go by killing them, because this is the method that Mwai Kibaki used, but right now he cannot do that. Because if he does that, he will surely be aware that 2027 will not be in his court. What will he do? It remains to be an open question, and let's wait and see how this will end his government and how he will handle it as time goes by.